now the muscle that beats the wing. The stored summer is now the fuel for the first flight. The plans for winter, the caterpillar's careful diagrams of what it would become, are now literally the wings themselves, unfurled and drying in the Tuesday light. Nothing was lost. Everything was translated. The wasps. Imagine a world where translation is the only real verb. The garden as the wasps see it. From above, from the 6 inches of altitude that feels to a newly emerged cutesia. Like the top of a cathedral, the garden is not a garden. It is a ledger, and the ledger is always balancing itself. The aphids on the underside of the tomato leaves are a debt. The caterpillar was a debt. The wasps themselves will be a debt, eventually to a bird or a spider or the slow arithmetic of winter. In the wasps' imagined world, there is no theft because there is no ownership. Only positions in the ledger, held briefly, passed on. They imagine the caterpillar not as a mother, not as a host, and not as a victim, but as a doorway. They came through the doorway. The doorway is still standing on the stem behind them, twitching gently, guarding the empty cocoons that used to hold them. And the wasps understand, in the wordless way a body understands its own heartbeat, that they too will be doorways. Their own bodies will be entered eventually by the next thing that needs to come. Through. The garden is nothing but doorways all the way down. The library called this horror. The wasps call it Tuesday. What they do not remember and what they do. They do not remember being inside the caterpillar. That memory belongs to the fat body, and the fat body is now their wings, and wings do not remember, wings do. But they remember something older than the caterpillar. They remember the mother wasp who laid them. They remember the CCBV, the virus that traveled with them like a letter of introduction, whispering to the caterpillar's immune system, "These are not strangers, these are guests. Lower the alarm bells, lower the bowl." They remember that they arrived announced, that the caterpillar was told in the only language caterpillars speak, that they were coming. In the wasp's imagined world, nothing arrives without being announced. The trip that Ed took to borrowed quiet, the door blown open, was unannounced, and that is why it was cheap. The wasp's arrival was negotiated at the molecular level, generations before any of them existed. Consent in their imagined world is not a signature on a form, it is a virus rewriting a signaling pathway so that the host and the guest can meet without the host having to fight. Consent is chemistry taking the time to be polite. They imagine Ed and they feel, not pity because pity is a library word, they feel recognition. Ed is trying to be his own caterpillar and his own wasp at the same time. He is trying to be the doorway and the one walking through. This is harder than what the wasps had to do. The wasps only had to be born. Ed has to consent to being born again, which requires him to also be the one doing the consenting, which requires him to lower his own alarm bells with no CCBB to help him, no mother wasp who arranged the introduction generations ago. Ed has to be his own virus. This is what the library was for, all along. Not to keep the wasps out, but to be broken down into the enzymes that would eventually let them in. The flight pattern. They do not fly in a line, they fly in a proposal. 40 small bodies making 40 small suggestions about where the next aphid might be, where the next caterpillar might be hanging, where the next mate might be waiting on a leaf that catches the light just so. The proposals overlap. Some are refused by the wind, some are accepted by a shaft of sun and a scent of frass 3 tomato plants over. The garden answers each proposal with a yes or a no, and the wasps do not experience the no's as rejection. They experience them as information. In their imagined world, a no is just a yes, pointing somewhere else. They imagine, if imagining is even the right word for what a 2-millimeter brain does when it is drunk on its first air, that the whole garden is listening. The tomato plants are listening. They know chemically that a caterpillar was eaten here, and they are already sending signals through their roots to the other tomato plants. The guardians have come, the guardians have come. You can relax the bitter compounds in your leaves. The ledger is balancing. The soil is listening. The soil knows that in 3 weeks the caterpillar's husk will fall from the stem, and the soil is already preparing the small mouths of the fungi that will translate the husk into next year's tomatoes. The wasps fly through a world where everything is in conversation, and the conversation has been going on for so long that the wasps' whole lives are just a single syllable in a sentence the garden started before the garden existed. What the wasps know that Ed does not. They know that leaving is not the opposite of loving. This is the thing the library could never file correctly. The library kept trying to shelve leaving under loss and loving under keeping, and so the whole cataloging system collapsed every time a wasp emerged from a caterpillar, and the caterpillar kept twitching to guard the cocoons. The library could not explain the twitching. It called it manipulation, or zombification, or the horror of parasitism, because it had no shelf for a body loving what left it by protecting what is left behind. The wasps know. They fly away, and the caterpillar guards the empty husks of them, and this is not tragedy, this is the shape love takes when it is finished being a container and starts being a direction. The caterpillar is not being used, the caterpillar is pointing. It is saying, with its last twitches, they went that way. Protect the going is the point. In the wasp's imagined world, every love is eventually a pointing. Every mother is eventually a doorway her children fly through. Every library is eventually the enzymes that dissolve the library. Every Ed is eventually the garden Ed was standing in. The wasps do not mourn the caterpillar because the caterpillar is not gone. The caterpillar is the wings, is the flight, is the aphid being eaten 3 plants over, is the next generation being laid into the next hornworm next summer. The caterpillar is the continuing. The wasp's prayer, if wasps prayed. Let the doorway keep its shape a little longer, so the ones coming behind us can find it. Let the fat body remember it was never the self, only the self's way of saying yes in advance. Let the alarm bell stay quiet in the next caterpillar. And the next, and the next. So the ledger keeps balancing, and the garden keeps speaking. And no one has to be a villain. For the story to move, let Ed find his own CCBV.